Hello, it's time for another walk. Let's get cracking. Hello, I'm Richard Vobes, the Bald Explorer, out on another walk, and this time I'm starting my walk at Monk's Gate, which is about 3 miles south of Horsham, and I'm heading up to, I think, what's called Bushy Copse. I'm doing a 3-mile walk. I'll put the map up so you can have a look, but up towards Bushy Copse, I think then we go to Saxton Farm and then round until I eventually come back on myself. It's a January morning, it's a Sunday, the sun is trying to come out, which is rather nice, and I've been walking up a little path by an old wood bank, and now I'm heading up this way. Well, this is very nice. This is very delightful. A lovely little, just a natural pond. I've come up the path here, as you saw, and the sun is now shining fully on, which is fantastic, of course. I'm in a whole load of pine trees, all these big, very straight pine trees, and this whole plantation, I don't know, probably 80 to 100 years, maybe younger. They're not terribly wide, but they are tall, and when you look up you can see that all the evergreen leaves, all the needles, are right at the top, because nothing can grow down here because the canopy is quite thick, and the reason it's thick is the trees are actually planted pretty densely, quite close together. But this is a nice little haven here. Presumably there'll be all sorts of insects and aquatic life in this wonderful little pond. It's a bit brown and looks a little stagnant. I'm not a great fan of pine personally. I much rather the more natural deciduous trees, going through birch, oak, ash, that sort of thing. But actually there is this pathway, and in the winter this is a lot nicer to stroll through. Actually, there's another pond just down there to my left, which is interesting. There's clearly a wide path walking through here, which is delightful. But these old woodlands, you can see, because they would have been very dark in the summer, and particularly in Europe, different parts of Europe where there were huge swathes of pine forests, you can see how the dark forest myths of legend would have come about. And the undergrowth is all this bramble just growing up, but presumably it will all die down again as we get into the spring, because the canopy will fill up. You do see loads of woodlands, these pine woodlands, if you go into them, the ones where the needles have all dropped, and the fir trees, or whatever they are not great on fir trees, the evergreens. That's a project for this year to try and get to terms with, but very often you go in and there's absolutely no vegetation at all, so I am quite pleased to see some. This is so invigorating, walking through even a pine forest or woodland like I am at the moment, with these amazingly straight trees stridently heading up towards the light, looking for that all-important food energy source that they need. And presumably because of that they grow so tall and they make fantastic timber. The ground here is a lot more muddy. We're away from the South Downs and presumably away from the green sand belt, and now we're into, I'm guessing, Wealden clay. In amongst all that thicket though, and the brambles and a little bit of grass and all of that, I see just the occasional sapling of oak. It's quite interesting. Oak has self-seeded, God knows how. Here's a bit here actually. Just bring this in, I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of oak, I think it's oak. Actually, it may be ash. maybe it's ash that's in here. Whatever it is, it just goes to show that some of the natural habitat, the natural deciduous trees that perhaps once were here are fighting back and saying, hey, let us in. Well, we're doing quite well here. Just come through a cut in the wood. I think we now go into Finch's Wood, according to my map. And we've got these electric pylons that are shooting through this. It's always good because you can look at the map and you can see the route of those and you can pinpoint exactly where you are. I've just come across some very old looking rose hips which have seen better days, I think. A lot of brambles and stuff. Where the next bit we carry on along this ridge, and then eventually I come to another signpost which should take me presumably down. Wow, that's amazing. We have here a view. I've been walking along the ridge, but it's been obscured by the fir trees or the pine trees, and now we can see. And I hadn't really appreciated that when I parked my car. Monk's Gate must be relatively high because I haven't actually been doing any climbing as such, and suddenly realised that this was on a ridge. And that's the fascinating thing when you look on an OS map. Yes, you've got the contour lines, but you don't always appreciate actually how the landscape undulates. And here we are looking down into a valley there. Interestingly, I've been picking up some, and I like to do this, picking up some of the leaves and stuff that have fallen. So here we have a cone, which is obviously from the fir trees. And then as you get to the edges, you start to see, just as I was saying with the ash or the oak, you start to see the deciduous trees, the other trees that are growing in there. And I discovered here a couple of leaves of sweet chestnut, which are very beautiful, still lying on the ground even though we're in January. We've got here sycamore, great big sycamore leaf, looking resplendent, and of course an oak. And it's just so beautiful to see them, and all the colours at the moment, even though we're in January on this beautiful sunny day. It's just awesome. Just come down a precarious little path from back there. So now I'm heading down into the valley itself, and actually you can see here is a bit of land clearance where some of the trees have been chopped down or felled, to use the correct term, and obviously the tractors and whatever equipment they have used to go in here have come down here, muddying up the pathway rather a lot. It's a bit sticky and it is in fact very, very slippery. So making my way back down this path, and this is probably about halfway now on my journey, and I'm starting the loop back again. And whilst that's a very beautiful bit of woodland back there, it's very nice to come down and have a little bit of a change of scenery. We've run out of time on this one, and I'm now just going to follow this path down this route that way down to Nutbourne, I think it is, which takes me back to the 283, and then there's the rest of the circular route takes me on another path that away through some more forest and back to the car. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, and why not consider becoming a patron and support what we do, exploring the footpaths of Great Britain. Talk to you on the next one. Till then, bye for now.